And we're right back live in the studio here at WLCN. We're in the program Viewpoint each Wednesday morning at 8:15. The number 648-5510. Somebody might have a question to ask of Scott Brown, our guest this morning. Scott has an interesting avocation. Besides being a deputy sheriff, taking care of our streets and our roads and trying to keep things in order around this county, along with his confreres, they got a big job too. Got a lot of territory to cover, and the economics of it don't give them all the gas money in the world they need to cover the country or the county. But this avocation of being an instructor, and earlier on as an 18-year-old, a student of Taekwondo, which is, as I understand it, is similar to Kung Fu or karate.
Correct. It's the Korean version of karate.
Now, somebody might have a question about that. 648-5510. Scott, the disciplines that you teach these youngsters, let's take an opening class. Let's take youngsters at 12, 15 years old.
Okay.
And let's just start them out on their opening night. What will you be doing and what will you be telling them?
Well, generally first, before they can start my class, the children and their parents have to sit through an entire class, because I am what I am. If you're going to be offended by the fact that I'm going to talk down alcohol, tobacco, drug use, even legal drug use that's abused, then you're in the wrong spot. And we speak of God often. You know, if you don't want to hear about God, then don't join my class. It's an opportunity for people to sit in, form an opinion, and then leave from that point. But every night I touch on the ill effects of alcohol, drug abuse, cigarette smoking, the benefits of keeping the body healthy, keeping the mind sharp, educating yourself. In that range of children that you were talking about, generally we'll talk about the opportunity that school allows them. And I compare the mind to a muscle in that with more use, much as you would lift weights with a bicep, you'll build strength, and the connective tissue will become more intact and stronger along with the muscle. Exercising the brain makes your study habits more efficient. And I encourage them to do so. The straight A students are generally going to be the ones that are going to be better able to study an opponent when they're in a tournament competition, or to see weaknesses in an individual that may be attempting to attack them. And it just kind of works that way, and it inspires the kids to go out and actually make better grades. And I tell them at a certain standard or at a certain rank that standards become higher, that by the rank of green belt you're no longer average, so C's in class are unacceptable. By the time you're a brown belt, which is the rank directly under a black belt, I tell my students that B is for bad. I expect to see straight A's on those report cards, and then I require them to bring the report cards in to me. And the kids, while not everybody's going to achieve straight A's, I do see a significant improvement.
But you got a big carrot out there dangling for them. What you're talking about is a way of life, as opposed to teaching somebody to be a smart guy on the street because I'm big and strong, or maybe small and strong. They don't have to be real big to be strong in this stuff, do they?
Right. Well, it's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
The more intelligent people, if mind alone was enough to be a great fighter, the professors in any college would be able to whoop up on anybody.
Somehow that sounds like an oxymoron.
If strength alone were enough, then bodybuilders or marathoners could do the same thing. They could just walk up and whip up on anybody. And then you have the fighting spirit, people with the desire to do it, but they don't either exercise the brain with regard to technical development or the body with regard to an ability to use that technique effectively. If you don't have that balance between the three, you're going to be less of a fighter than what you'll be if you try to exercise all three areas. You want to keep that desire, that spirit, that gung-ho attitude intact, but you want to also inspire the kids to exercise their brain, study your opponent. We have memory work. A beginning student, before they can test up in rank, we have 13 rules, a student creed, the tenets of Taekwondo that are 5 tenets, the literal meaning of Taekwondo and the literal meaning of Hapkido that they have to learn verbatim. They have to have definitions. such as the HAP literally means coordination, key denotes the essence of power, do is the art, where, method. So collectively, it's the way of coordinated power. The kids have to learn these things, and with the tenets of Taekwondo, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit, while I've got definitions under, they don't need to learn verbatim. They do need to be able to give me an example of each. They need to be able to demonstrate an example of integrity, or an example of perseverance, an example of indomitable spirit. Self-control covers many areas.
Again, we're talking about character building as opposed to just simply building body strength and body know-how. We're talking about the mind.
Yes, sir.
And how you use it.
Yes, sir. And as you get further into your training, you're going to develop the body along with it. And as you develop a greater degree of physical fitness, overall physical fitness, and your abilities improve, you're going to feel better about yourself. And that outward confidence to stand your ground on issues like somebody, well, again, we speak of God often. And if someone wants to question your belief in God, you're going to stand your ground. You're not going to cower down and allow somebody to just run over you. You're not going to beat them up as a result of what they might say, but you're going to express your opinion, and you'll do it tactfully and respectfully.
Is respect a big part of the whole picture?
Oh, from the very beginning. From the very beginning, we have children 5 years old that within a couple of months, you'll see them answering other adults around them with yes, sir, yes, ma'am. It's just, it's
Not a bad deal.
I don't allow kids to sit in a chair when an adult is standing. I don't care if they're a teenager. Sit on the floor, and we'll have the adult be seated. That's just the way it is in my school, anyway.
Where were you when I needed you? Well, I guess I'm going to ask this question, Scott. If somebody who's just interested in what you're doing out there, just because they maybe have heard this program or didn't know much about this and kind of wanted to watch and see, do you let people come in and watch?
Oh, sure. Sure.
To observe?
Well, like I said earlier, I actually mandate that you sit through at least one of my sessions. It's an hour-and-a-half long class, and it just gives you an opportunity to form an opinion. I don't pressure sales anybody. I just let them see this is how Scott Brown teaches martial arts, and if it's for you, good. If it's not, then okay. You know, there's other martial arts you can explore. If you want to maybe see a variety of teaching methods before you make a decision, that's okay too. It's not for everybody because it is hard work. And at any age, if I started my old people's class, I would push people to near their physical limits. You know, I've been around long enough to recognize how far I can go with different individuals. And I would push them, I would continue to push them to their physical limits, but not beyond that, because Taekwondo, any martial art, is not about destroying the body. It's about living a long, healthy life. It's about longevity of life, whether it be yours through your personal health habits, your personal disciplines, or the life of an opponent, and that you develop, hopefully, you'll develop the expertise that will allow you to control a situation without maiming or taking the life of another human being. That's your ultimate goal.
Now, you know, we've seen we've seen pictures of the Orientals in the parks over in Japan and so forth. And I guess maybe they're performing a more passive form of Taekwondo. You see them going through exercises, very slow motion exercises, and obviously that's got to be a considerable help to them. But that's a regimen also, and Jean has been over there to see that, and she says it's really interesting to watch all these, several hundred people in a park lined up, and they're all doing the same thing very slowly, and it's kind of, we've all seen it on the television or movies.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to with more of a Tai Chi type of exercise for the older folks. Primarily an exercise like that, whether or not you're actually going to build a true capability to defend yourself against a 26-year-old musclehead that's coming at you angry, probably not. Yeah. But are you going to develop a wider range of motion in all of your joints? Are you going to develop more stability in connective tissue, strength in your legs, your stances? We do a lot of lunging in class, but it would be modified. And with that type of exercise, it's a slower motion. It's something that older folks could do, and it's going to be a benefit to the body because you're constantly moving for up to an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Now, getting back to a little bit younger people who would get into Taekwondo and expect to go through all the levels, all the belts. How does one advance from one to the next? Does it have to be in a contest situation?
Well, you're going to face individuals within the school. Do you have to compete? No. You don't have to go to competitions. I don't require that. It's not mandated. I encourage it in the younger kids, particularly, or younger adults, because it gives you an opportunity to see where you're at technically. And the mental aspects of it being that you can relax and effectively apply a technique against somebody of your caliber in a relaxed, more technical manner rather than trying to push and not really accomplish anything. You're not striking anything. And it's pretty difficult to stay relaxed when somebody's trying to kick you. And Olympic-style competition, they're going for your head.
Yes. And that's amazing to me. How do you get your foot up to a guy's head?
That's part of the program. That's just a byproduct of training in Taekwondo. Taekwondo emphasizes kicking strategies. It's primarily a kicking art. We use the hands, but it's primarily early on development of strength, flexibility in the legs, and ability to recognize and learn body alignment so that you don't tear your knees and your hips and everything apart. You can do this for a long time. I've been kicking for a long time, and I really don't experience a lot of the problems that other people my age experience with knees and hips and stuff.
When some macho young father has his first son and is determined that little Johnny's going to be on the high school football team, probably quarterback, and everything is going to go well for little Johnny, it would be well for that kid to start with you so that they do have the balance and the assertiveness.
I've had a lot of the coaches from the high school that love having my Taekwondo kids in their whatever it is that they're teaching.
They're disciplined.
Yeah, they're disciplined.
Well, to start with, yeah.
They recognize early in life that hard work pays off. If you exercise, you're going to get stronger. If you're stronger, you're going to be athletically superior to somebody who doesn't exercise. And I tell people on a regular basis that you're going to have your athletically gifted students. You're going to have people that can come in and it just seems like they can connect the dots with no problem at all.
Yeah.
But I make them aware that hard work will beat talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Did you know my dad? K.O. always said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
I like that. I may use that sometime in class. Do you mind?
Exactly
Have
right.
a day.
With respect to the competitions, how does one determine, without kicking the daylights out of an opponent, how does one determine who the winner is? The object, of course, is, I guess, demonstrate your ability, but how does one determine a winner between Scott Brown and Bill Gossett?
Well, in Olympic-style competition, you're wearing headgear, you're wearing a chest protector, you're wearing shin instep pads and fist forearm pads, or at least forearm pads. And the points are awarded based on the degree of difficulty in the strike. If it's a spinning technique, now you're awarded 2 points. If it's a head technique, you're awarded 2 points. If it's a spinning technique to the head, you'll get 3 points for it. And at national levels and international levels, these are full contact matches. I mean, you're striking, there's, my son Andy has knocked out a lot of fighters. He knocked out the Scottish national champion.
Really?
In Chicago, yeah. With a spin back kick to the head.
Let's go back to this head business. Now, what are you talking about?
Kicks to the head?
Oh, it's kicks to the head.
It's kicks to the head, yeah. They don't allow you to punch to the head because they want to emphasize footwork kicking strategies that basically show an ability, demonstrate an ability to land a head kick on somebody of your caliber, somebody that's been training as long as you have. When you've developed the expertise to be able to counter a technique with an effective head kick that results in a knockout or at least an inability to continue, well, you've crossed to where you want to be. This is where you want to be technically.
That obviously they have a different type of, but they have something like a football helmet. Only that's not. It wouldn't be.
It's not a lot of padding.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Maybe it's like the old football helmets, the leather ones.
No, it's a 1-inch piece of foam basically that just sits over your ears. Yeah, it's more of a decoration than it is anything else. The mouthpiece probably does more to protect you than what the headgear does.
Maybe it'll save you from cauliflower ears. Huh?
Yeah, it might do that.
I'm not sure.
You're not mandated to participate in something like that. I mean, that's for the younger, more testosterone-laden young guys. Or I've had some very aggressive women that have been pretty good knockout artists.
I want to get to the distaff side, the other gender. How many ladies? Excuse me, please, I get all choked up talking about this. How many ladies do you have participate in your schools?
Right now, I've probably got maybe 10 women.
Really?
That are participating. Yeah, I've got more younger girls, teenagers, and then younger girls yet than that. But the women, as far as black belts, let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3. There's only been 37 people achieve a black belt under me in the years that I've been teaching, which is a pretty low percentage of people. But my standards are high, and I make everybody aware that expectations are for you to meet a standard of each rank, and it's an accumulation of knowledge from white belt the day you walk through the door until the day you stand before a testing instructor. When you're testing for a black belt, there's been very few men or women complete the course, and that you got to go through an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of strenuous, I'm talking very physically exhausting demonstration of techniques, the knowledge of all your forms. And then I start firing on you with different questions when you're in a fatigued state. When that body's broke down, then I want to start hitting you with thought-provoking questions, things that are going to require you to maybe teach someone who completely lacks confidence, has never done anything athletic, as compared to somebody who comes in and says, I can do it now, I'm overly aggressive. How do you control those two? It's
both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. And when we're completed with that, we've got to complete a 5-mile run.
Jim, it occurs to me, Jim, that
then you call the Undertaker.
No, if you're smitten by a young lady and think you want to have a date with her, maybe one of the qualifying questions you need to ask is, by the way, you're not a black belt, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, they're taught how to effectively defend themselves, and that's a lot of it incorporates attacking specific areas of the body, and up to and including, if necessary, using keys as a means of a stabbing tool into different nerve centers of the body. And we teach a variety of attack points, and they're required to memorize and basically recite and show on the human body where these parts, the most vulnerable areas of attack, are. This is part of being a black belt.
But if I were a person who lived in any of the cities, the big cities around us, I should think it would behoove me to take advantage of a course such as yours. You watch the news at night. My golly, everybody's trying to ruin everybody else. They're shooting them and stabbing them and what all else.
Well, again, practicing the martial arts by no means makes you a Superman. It gives you an edge, and it will definitely give you a more confident look, which deters an attack in the first place, usually. Not always, but usually. In my women's self-defense classes, I gear the women towards realizing your individual capabilities, physically and mentally. I mean, if you're a real nervous person that's going to tighten up at the first sign of an attack, then you need to be more aware of where you're going to park your vehicle, what route you're going to take into a car or into a store, or leaving from a store to the car, walking wide around corners. You're not living a life of paranoia. You're just living one of preparation. You're going to be in a better position to run, if necessary, than you would be to fight. And then building the capability strength-wise, realizing your limits.
There are all kinds of things that people don't even think about. For instance, to have Susie written on your license plate would give a sign to some hophead in the parking lot.
Maybe that's
a woman's car. I mean, you don't have to be the brightest bulb to figure that out,
Well, by the way, Scott, before we close, it might be well if folks knew exactly where you're located and what your hours are and so forth, and they might be interested in signing Susie or Johnny or themselves up to see if they have any interest in this. So tell us how they approach you.
Okay, we're at 1204 Woodlawn Road in Lincoln.
And that's right behind Aldi's.
It's right behind Aldi's and the Dollar General. Our class times are 6 o'clock until 7:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And as I said, when I retire, then I'm thinking of the morning class and afternoon class, and we'll expand on that. But right now it's 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. 4 nights a week. Kids are in with adults, and I do that to make kids remain realistic with regard to you're not, as a 6-year-old, going to stand your ground with an adult male and expect to win the fight. You learn how to escape, and then you run to the nearest lit area or crowded area where you can get some help.
all the time yelling, "Feet don't fail me now."
Well, we appreciate very much the appearance of Scott Brown, the instructor in Taekwondo here in Lincoln. It's got more involved than I realized, and what I'm taking away from this morning, Judy, is that it's as much mental and character building as it is the physical aspect of it. I think I'd be correct in saying that, Scott?
That's correct.
Thank you very much for being with us. We always try to close with some little comment about the subject of the day, and this is one about exercise. It says, some people exercise by jumping at conclusions. Some people by sidestepping their responsibilities. But most people get by running down other people. Thank you. Thank you for Viewpoint.
Thanks for having me.